What's going on, everybody? Ken Howard with Green Mountain Defense. I'm coming at you today with just a quick little video I'm going to put together on metallic cartridge reloading. It's the apocalypse, right? Ammo is nowhere to be found. And if it is, it's god-awful, ridiculously expensive. And some of us want to continue to train. We want to continue to compete. We want to continue to be able to get better with our tools. Dry fire is important. Absolutely, but we need to be able to live fire at some point. Enter reloading. Now, this has been something that I've dabbled in and dabbled back out, dabbled in, dabbled back out over the years. Messed with the single stage press. What you see here is the pinnacle of my reloading expertise, right? Essentially, the pinnacle of my reloading expertise. That's pretty funny. Essentially, what I'm doing is I'm putting together serviceable, usable 9mm training rounds that are roughly, 1.125 in length with these 115 grain berries, lead, copper-coated projectiles. I'm not going to be giving any actual recipes or data or anything in this video. But the bottom line is we need to be able to roll our own at some point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through kind of the step-by-step process on this Dillon 550 turret press, operation for operation on how each part works. And then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about the individual benefits and, why you would reload in the first place. So let's check it out. Just figured I'd get you a freehand close-up of the process. The press, we have all the stations there. We have the Glock barrel for the plunk test. We have the calipers for measuring length and width. And we have the scale for measuring the right amount of powder. The process is going to start with brass. It's been picked up from the range. This is 9mm brass. I don't sort brass by head stamp. My reloads are not that precise, and in this application, they don't need to be. So, first part of the stationing is the decapping. So we're going to remove the primer. We're going to resize the case, and we're going to add a new primer that is in this primer feed tube right here. So, here's the way the brass looks when it goes in. We're going to push forward to prime. On the way out, there's a reprimed, resized piece of brass. The next station is going to add powder. So we're going to spin the turret. We're going to flare the case mouth just a touch to open it up a little more to be able to add the projectile. We're going to drop powder and come back out. It's important to be able to measure just how much powder is actually in the case. As you can see now, there's some powder in the case. And right over here, we're able to measure if the scale balances with that amount of powder. Sure enough, the scale balances, and we are happy. P.S. We are not measuring powder on every single step. Now that we've got our correctly measured amount of powder, the round spins one more time to the third station, which is the station that seats the round depth-wise into the case. And we can measure that length correctly with a micrometer. We were shooting point for 1.125. We ended up at 1.126. I'm not going to worry about that. It's actually pretty decent. And the final step is simply going to apply a crimp to our round. So now we have a completed round. That will in fact pass a plunk test into a Glock barrel. Just like that. So there we go. Completed round goes in the good pile. Just like that. Okay. Once you get things all set up, what you end up with is a pretty decent and useful system. You can chunk through the rounds pretty well. With every pull of the lever at this point, because the whole press is full, I end up chunking a brand new round down into the tray of remanufactured made ammunition. I know my powder measure is dropping the correct amount of powder. I know my seating depth is correct. I know my crimp is correct. My priming system is working fine. And I can sit here at this pace and chunk through some ammo pretty efficiently. Sometimes the press will hold up a little bit or stick in one spot or the other. But generally speaking, for being a manual operation, this isn't all that inefficient. Sometimes you get a primer, falls down in the way, but you move through it, you pay attention to what you're doing, and you can continue to make pretty quality ammunition that's suitable for training and, competition. Probably wouldn't try to defend the house with this stuff, but I guess you could if you had to on a bench. So obviously right now, right, like we're in the middle of the ammo apocalypse, and you can't get anything. Now, for one thing, I've absolutely had some supplies on hand for a while, so that's definitely part of the show. But even still, if you had to buy components right now, which I have and a couple friends have and so forth, you're still making ammo in the sub 20 cents a round range. And even if you got up to 25 cents a round, right now 9mm factory ammo, if you can find it, is selling for 40 cents a round, and it's not selling in bulk quantities. So ammo prices have essentially doubled on this stuff. So this is, kind of protecting me a little bit against inflation, and it's keeping me supplied to make sure that I have what I need to be able to continue my regimen of training, to continue to teach with and stuff like that. And I'm able to make thousands of rounds on my own independently with some level of self-sufficiency, and not really have to worry about the woes of the ammo shortage as much as somebody else would. So that's kind of my reasoning behind why I'm even into doing this in the first place. One of the things that often comes up in reloading is the camera's fucked up. That doesn't often come up. Cool. One of the things that often comes up in reloading is reference material, right? So I'm putting together ammunition based on how much powder, what grain weight bullet, what length, what width, what primer. Essentially what we're doing is we're baking, we're building a recipe, right? Where do you get these recipes? Well, first and foremost, you should get them through reloading manuals. So what I have here is I have the Barnes number 4 reloading manual. I have Nosler number 8. I have the Lyman 47th. I have the Lyman 50th. I have Spear number 14. These are all the ones I have in hard copy. And I have a bunch in digital copy on my iPad as well. And you can go find reference material from powder manufacturers, Hodgdon is a great one. They have Hodgdon reloading data right online that you can go and get actual manufacturer recommended reloading data from the manufacturer of the powder, right? So you'll have projectile companies and you'll have powder manufacturers, both giving you, and then of course Lyman, giving you reference material data. So just for the hell of it, we're gonna look up 9mm in the Spear book. And let's see, where am I gonna find 9mm? 9mm Willie, where you at? Page 851. Perfect. So you'll get a little reference guide on where 9mm came from, etc., etc., etc. You'll get a max case length, trim length, maximum cartridge overall length, what shell holder to use RCBS, etc., etc., etc. So for 115 grain projectile, round nose like I'm using, they're quoting that I should be using 4.1 grains of the powder with a 1.135 overall length, and that should get me 1061 feet per second. So that's just one reference manual. What I do is I pull a couple pieces of reference data from a few of these places, and I tend to pick the average, starting at the bottom of the powder charge, working my way up to make sure that I don't overcharge a case, start to see pressure signs, start to see flattened primers, things like that. Make no mistake, this can be a dangerous process if you do it incorrectly, but the right reference material certainly helps. So we've gone over the individual operations in, not in super depth, but to a basic level of understanding. We've gone over powder measurements. We've gone over the length measurements. We've gone over the barrel punk test. You've seen generally how the press operates. The bottom line here is this. Reloading for me used to be a question of like time value of money, right? Was my time or my money more important? And when you could buy factory ammo for 16 cents a round, and I could make loaded ammo for 13 or 14 cents a round, there's a time value of money equation there. But now that ammunition is in the 40 cents per round range and I'm still making this stuff for under 20 cents a round, clearly there's a time value of money thing that's in my favor there. Plus, the place is well enough stocked that I won't be able to continue to shoot as much volume as I normally do, but I'll certainly still be able to continue to teach and to train, and I won't miss a match or a class, or certainly not teach a class because of lack of ammunition. So that's the level of the setup. Now, don't get me wrong, I'd love to have this Dillon press tricked out further with case feeders and bullet feeders and alarms and all that kind of stuff. I'd love to have one of those Mark 7 machines where you just press a button and walk away. Not really, but watch the thing be as automated as possible. But for a relatively decent monetary investment here, I've well surpassed the point. I've had this press for several years. I've well surpassed the point where the press has paid back for itself in cost of ammo, even before, because I've always reloaded some to supplement my shooting. So now I'm reloading considerably more to almost take over my shooting, given the zombie apocalypse that we're faced with. As far as powder, components, primers, stuff like that, buy your projectiles in bulk online. Buy as much of this stuff as you can in bulk online. Support your local dealers. This is what I try to do anyway. Support your local dealers for primer and powder, because those things you'll pay hazmat charges on to ship them. So you'll find that the better price online may or may not be the better price. Source projectiles online, and brass should be found. Pick up range brass as much as you possibly can. And if you have to buy some new brass to start yourself out, it'll be, as long as you continue to collect it every time, it'll be an investment that pays you dividends. You can get a couple goes out of one piece of brass. Me personally, big old drywall bucket full of stuff that came from an indoor range. Go pick it up on the range, go process it, etc., etc., etc. But it's always good to have extra brass on hand. This is just one of those things that I do. I mean, I know this isn't a training topic. I know this isn't a defensive concepts topic or anything like that. But truthfully, it's super important, because if we don't have the means to run the car, then the driving class is worthless. And I look at this stuff as gasoline, right? So it's obvious that it's a thing that we're gonna have to do at some point. www.greenmountaindefense.com/training for all your class upcoming needs. And check us out on the Sling and Lead podcast, YouTube, Spreaker, iTunes, Apple, Stitcher, etc., etc., etc. Really happy to have Right On Optics continue to have us on their pro staff. And we have affiliate links at greenmountaindefense.com for Primary Arms and for Big Daddy Unlimited and for Subscribe Star and all that. Find a way to support the channel if you would, please. All those links are there. And get out and shoot. If you have any questions, let me know. This has been Ken Howard with Green Mountain Defense. Thanks.